One of the most common questions I get from homeowners getting ready to put their home on the market is whether they should do an open house at all. And the honest answer is, it depends. Not every home benefits from an open house the same way. So today I want to walk you through how to think about whether your home is a good fit for one, because this decision is a lot more strategic than people realize. I'm Lourdes Maestres. For the past 17 years, I have specialized in selling real estate in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I have completed more than 600 market analyses. The insights I'm sharing with you today are based on my own experience and my own production, and the years of tracking what works, what doesn't, and how the market evolves over time. Before we get into the specific, let's talk about what an open house actually accomplishes, because understanding its real purpose helps explain why it's not automatically the right move for every single home. An open house creates a window of time where anyone interested can walk through a home without having to schedule an individual appointment. For certain homes, that accessibility drives real traffic, generates the buzz, and can even create the kind of competitive energy that leads to multiple interested buyers. For other homes, particularly the higher end or more private properties, that same accessibility can actually work against the home's positioning, bring in a lot of lookers who were never realistic buyers, and also create security and privacy concerns that outweigh the benefit. The honest truth is that an open house is just one marketing tool among several. And like any tool, in certain situations, it can be counterproductive. Treating it as an automatic step in every sale, regardless of the home, is where I see a lot of the homeowners actually run into trouble. So let's talk through the factors that actually determine whether an open house makes sense for your specific home. Factor number one, your price point. This is one of the biggest factors. Homes at a more accessible price point tend to benefit the most from an open house, because the pool of qualified buyers is much larger, and broad foot traffic has a real chance of turning into serious offers and competition. In my professional opinion, in the city of Fort Lauderdale, if you have a home that is priced under $1 million, doing an open house could benefit you. But before you take my word for it, make sure that you speak to your real estate agent and you make sure that safety is not an issue for you. As we go up into true luxury territory, the pool of qualified buyers is going to shrink. And a general open house often attracts more curious neighbors and lookers than actually buyers. Now, that doesn't mean luxury homes should never have an open house. It simply means the strategy and the expected outcome changes as the price point and location change. It's important to be realistic about who is actually going to walk through the front door. For example, if I have a $5 million home on a quiet residential street in Coral Ridge that's vacant, I may absolutely recommend an open house. Qualified buyers at that price point often make a point of visiting open houses on Sundays, and it can be an effective way to generate serious interest. Now, take that same $5 million home and place it in Central Beach within walking distance of Las Olas and the Elba Room. My recommendation would likely be very different. Instead of attracting primarily qualified buyers, you're much more likely to attract people who are just simply out enjoying the area and decide to stop in just out of curiosity. Factor number two, privacy and security. This matters for waterfront estates, for gated properties, and any home where the owner has real concerns about strangers walking through unsupervised, even if it's just briefly. An open house means opening your home to anyone who shows up. And for homeowners, especially those that have valuable art collections or simply a strong preference for privacy, that trade-off isn't worth it. Personally, I do not recommend open houses for luxury homes that are occupied. I typically do invite-only brokers open or gatherings with buyers that have been pre-screened and qualified by me. Now, one thing you should know is that all real estate agents have access to a platform called Formula. I have been using it for years, and what that does, it allows me to run a background check on every person I talk to or meet that may be interested in seeing one of my listings or working with my buyer's agent. This pre-screening gives me the history of their current home, the past homes, and if they have any criminal record, and maybe any family members that are associated with those addresses. It is a way for us real estate agents to determine whether or not we feel safe to work with a particular buyer or a seller. Factor number 3, visibility. In August of 2024, the real estate industry changed significantly. Under the new rules established by the National Association of Realtors, buyers who want to tour a home with a real estate agent are generally required to sign a written agreement. That agreement can be for a single property, or it could be an exclusive agreement of representation. So what does that mean for you as a homeowner? Why should you care? Because it means we have actually seen an increase in open house traffic since that went into effect. Many buyers, especially those relocating to Fort Lauderdale, don't yet have a relationship with a real estate agent. So before they start committing to an agent, they want to explore different neighborhoods. They want to compare lifestyles, and they want to get a feel for the market on their own. So open houses gives those buyers that opportunity. Under the current rules, buyers can still attend an open house without having to sign an agreement. As a result, open houses have become one of the easiest ways for buyers to begin their home search. Here in Fort Lauderdale, many of our buyers spend 1 to 2 years researching before they actually purchase a home. They're learning about the neighborhoods, understanding the waterfront lifestyle, comparing the schools, restaurants, the commute times, the amenities, before narrowing down their search. For certain homes, simply making the property accessible to these buyers can be the difference between being overlooked and becoming the home they ultimately choose once they're ready to buy. Factor number 4, how the home shows. It sounds obvious, but it matters a lot. A home that's beautifully staged, professionally photographed, and ready for a crowd of strangers to walk through and picture themselves living in is a home that's going to perform well at an open house. A home that's still lived in, cluttered, or simply not staged to its full potential is going to underperform at an open house that could actually hurt the property's positioning. Because first impressions matter, and you generally don't get a second chance with a buyer who walks through an underprepared home. I've had homeowners want to rush into an open house before staging was complete purely because of a date felt urgent, and I can understand that. But I always push back on that because a poorly presented home at an open house does more damage than simply waiting an extra week or two to get it right. Factor number 5, current market conditions. In a hot market with buyer demand and limited inventory, open houses tend to generate real traffic and real urgency. In a slower market, or for a property type that's currently overrepresented in local inventory, an open house might draw a smaller crowd, and that smaller turnout can actually work against how the people are perceiving the home. So manage it carefully. Factor number 6, timing, and specifically how early in the process of putting your home on the market you're going to consider an open house. A lot of the agents recommend holding the first open house during the property's first weekend on the market, when the interest and the visibility typically is at their peaks. In my opinion, waiting too long to schedule an open house may not be the best thing. So I totally like that strategy of going and doing an open house within the first week of you going into the market. But things to consider are holidays and what happens during the holiday. For example, here during July 4th, we have been doing open houses for a long time. We know that on July 4th, no one goes to open houses. So this year we decided we're not going to hold any open houses on our listings because we're not going to get any traffic. And if we do get traffic, it's going to be the wrong traffic. So working with a real estate agent that has tracked this process before and understands every single neighborhood, it's a conversation you need to have when you're planning when is the right time to do an open house for your home. Now, if after considering all of this, an open house doesn't feel like the right fit for your specific home, that doesn't mean you're giving up on effective marketing. There are real alternatives worth considering. Private, appointment-only showings give you much more control over exactly who walks through your home and when, which is often the preferred approach I typically recommend for higher-end properties or homes where privacy is a real priority. You can screen who's coming, have your agent personally walk potential buyers through, and create a much more curated control experience than a general open house allows. This approach also tends to attract a more serious buyer to begin with, since scheduling an individual appointment requires more intentional effort than simply just stopping by an open house on a Sunday afternoon. Let's talk briefly about Brokers Open, because these type of events I actually like to do, especially with my higher end homes. And this is when I basically invite top real estate agents in the area, or maybe an agent who has been working with a buyer in the particular neighborhood. And I invite them over to come and preview the home, because I want to put your home in front of serious buyers. And those serious buyers, 90% of the time, are working with a real estate agent. So opening your doors to the public, we don't have to do that. Just recently, I launched a new listing for $14 million in Riverside. It's a neighborhood that most people, that even the ones that have been living here, don't actually even know. So what we did is we actually spent 2 months marketing this particular home before going into the market. Every single week, we had our team send out hundreds of text messages, emails, and make phone calls. And we invited the top brokers in the area. We invited brokers in the city of Miami. We invited brokers on the west side of the city. And we invited brokers from Palm Beach. We hired a DJ. We had a big party. We had about 120 people. We basically started the morning. It was an entire day at 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. So when I talk about Brokers Open, I'm not just talking to like, come and take a quick look. Like, we want to make sure that they're going to enjoy the home, appreciate the home, walk through the home, understand the finishes of the home, and make sure that we keep them in the door so they can fall in love with the house and they can bring their buyers to the home. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about a Brokers Open. So how to decide if you actually should do a Brokers Open? Typically, I do a Brokers Open when we're trying to avoid to having so many days on market. And we know that once we get up in price points, once we're at the 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 20 million, the days on market is going to be longer, more than your average, let's say 90 days, for example, in Fort Lauderdale in 2026 is your average days on market for homes that are in the lower price point. But in the luxury market, we want to make sure that we create the buzz. We invite the people that are qualified, that are working with qualified buyers that have experience, or maybe not necessarily have experience, but they're hustling and they're out and about looking for clients. And they bring in artists, and they bring in musicians, and they bring in celebrities, and they bring in athletes. Those realtors, I love working with those real estate agents. I bring them over, show them the house. They have a good time at the home. We build relationships, and that's sometimes how deals get done. They have an opportunity to appreciate it. So depending on the home, if your home is a fit for that type of event, I will totally recommend to explore that option. On the lower price point, typically I don't do Brokers Open. This is only when I am dealing with a home that requires more privacy and to have a selected group of people come and take a look at the home. These are small details, but they matter both for your peace of mind and for the effectiveness of the event itself. I also encourage homeowners to put away or lock up your medications, personal mail, and anything else you wouldn't want a stranger to see or handle, since an open house does mean unfamiliar people moving through your home somewhat freely for a set window of time. This is the kind of decision that benefits from having a real conversation with someone who knows your specific home, your specific neighborhood, and current market conditions, rather than a one-size-fits-all approach to marketing. So if you or anyone you know is getting ready to put a home on the market and wants an honest opinion on whether an open house is actually the right move, or have them reach out to me directly. There's no universal right answer here. An open house is a powerful tool for the right home at the right price point and at the right moment in the market, and what's actually going to work best for their specific situation, not just tradition for tradition's sake. I would rather walk a homeowner through a strategy that's tailored to their home than default to the same approach for every property, regardless of the price point, privacy needs, or current market conditions. Before I wrap up, if you're finding my videos helpful, please go ahead and subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button on the screen. I am covering a new home topic every single week. The details that actually matter when you're buying, when you're selling, or just simply living here in South Florida, especially in the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I would love to have you along for it. I walk through this with every homeowner I work with because the right marketing approach really does depend on the home. So now I want to hear from you. Have you done an open house before, or are you considering one? Drop a comment below and let me know how it went. And if you found this helpful, stick around because I've got more of these homeowner breakdowns coming every single week, covering decisions that actually matter once you're seriously getting ready to sell. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.